But we should also, I think, be live with YouTube, which is going to be interesting. Going to be interesting to see how that goes. So let's see how this goes. And cool. Are we live on YouTube right now? I press start streaming. I'm doing something a bit different with Restream. I think we should be go. Not exactly how I wanted that to start, but I'm trying something different. So what I'm thinking about doing for the rest of these podcast episodes is to basically go live on YouTube and Kick when I can. Just so people who want to watch stuff on Kick, people who don't like YouTube for whatever reason, can do. That's the idea behind everything. But we'll see how it goes. This is still, this is the third episode of this now. Still going to be a test stream. Going to be a bit of a shorter stream. Going to try and keep it a little bit more focused, a little bit tighter. And yeah, we'll do stuff as we go to see how that all works. One nice thing is I have been made an affiliate on Kick, even though I've got like, I don't know, like 23 followers. They made me an affiliate, which was nice of them. So once I've got all of that set up, then people will be able to get subscriptions, get memberships, whatever you call them on that platform. But try some different things. Hello, Texas. Hello, Ultra Clark. But now you have some choice of where to watch me, which is very nice. Now, I was a couple of minutes late going live, and that's because I just set up my fancy Stream Deck Plus. This is something that I bought yesterday. No, yeah, day before yesterday, and then it arrived yesterday, but I didn't set it up until this morning. And basically what I've been wanting it for is that I now have some dials where I can do things like reduce like the volume just of voice chat, reduce the volume just of the PC, and I can do it for like, I can reduce the volume of something just for me or just for you. Stuff like that, which I think is kind of cool. And it also has, my previous one only had 6 buttons, and it's got 8 buttons, as well as a bunch of buttons just for the dials, which is quite nice. So now I can have things like, I can join Discord, I can put push to talk on and stuff like that, all from a panel in front of me, rather than having to remember a bunch of different keyboard commands. So that's pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about this. I'm pretty happy about it. We'll see like how I manage to use it. I've got a couple of things in the pipeline that I'm waiting for a license for to be able to do some fun stuff with it. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it'll be really cool. Did I manage to get both decks working? No, I haven't tried actually. I got rid of the Steam Deck Mini just because I don't really have a good place for it and I don't have a need for it at the moment. But if I need more buttons, then I might plug it in. I can see how, like in the software, you can just change the profile on a drop-down thing. So it definitely makes sense how you would be able to do that. But yeah, I mean, I'm optimistic about it. It seems pretty cool. It is, 200 quid. It's quite a lot. But we'll see how it all goes. I'm just double checking to see if I actually am live on Kick or not. Like, I should be, but, hard to tell. Am I live on there? Yeah, I am. Cool. That all works. So, yeah, I wanted to try and keep on refining all of these different formats and stuff. I'm really happy with how this is going, doing the whole Kick thing and doing the podcast type streams and stuff. I think what we're going to do today is essentially I'm going to do like an hour stream on YouTube. Just an hour live stream makes it a bit easier to watch the VOD, makes it a bit easier to like catch up if you do it. The first one was 2 hours, the second one was 3 hours. I think they were getting out of control because I was just enjoying myself too much. And I genuinely am, like, I really like doing this stuff. So what I might start doing is just like, I figured a daily stream, an hour long in the morning, catching up on the previous day's gaming news, talking about some of the stuff that's going to happen, some stuff that's going to play. Then I might go off and do videos or whatever I need to do. And then I might come back on and stream a bit later, whether it's on Kick, whether it's on YouTube, depending on what I'm playing. Today I just got sent a code for Deceive Inc. So I might play some of that later. I might give that a go. Just try a few different things. One of the problems with YouTube still is that, like, as far as I know, with a stream, you can't, like, choose to be like, hey, you don't need to send out notifications for this and stuff. Because sometimes, like, one of the things I liked about Twitch is that sometimes I'd just, like, go live for, like, the 4th time in a day because I was like, oh, I want to do this now. And YouTube isn't very flexible with that, which is a bit of a shame. But, you know, oh well. So one of the... I even put together a little agenda for this today. I've already, 7 minutes into it, but I'm not doing it. Oh, sorry, Hi Lord Terry, you don't know what Kick is. Kick is it's a dubious new streaming platform. There you go, I'll put a link to it. It's a dubious new stream platform. The reason it's dubious is because the people that own it are also heavily involved in online gambling, and the website definitely seems to be promoting online gambling quite a lot. I've got no interest in gambling. I think gambling is bad. But they're also doing stuff where they're like, offering creators 95% of the revenue from subs, which is insane. Like, you know, YouTube, you get 70%, Twitch, you get 50%. 95% is pretty crazy, and they're doing a lot to like push people who try out the platform. So I've kind of agreed to all of that kind of stuff just to give it a go, just to see what's happening. That's the idea. So I thought for this, you know, I'm just restreaming this to both of them, which is something that Kick definitely are encouraging. And I'll see, I might just stream all of my YouTube ones to Kick as well, then people who would prefer to watch over there can do. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's kind of how I felt at first, High Lord Terror. I'm doing it, essentially I'm streaming on Kick because there's a chance to make more money. Like, that's it. But I do not want people to go over there and then end up being like, hey, I'm going to start gambling based on it. You know, I don't want that. But we'll see how it goes. Oh, I did just get a follower over there, Medstar. Thank you very much. People who do manage to get over there, though, there is one little thing that I can do, which is the first 25 followers I can give like this little OG badge to over there. So I am going through and doing that. I think we've got like 5 more or something to do. But yeah, so I'll do that occasionally. Where would I prefer you to watch? I honestly don't care. Wherever you want. Wherever you would like. You know, YouTube is still my main platform. YouTube's still where I do everything. I love people being subs here. I love people being members here. Oh no, you're just the first today, Mister. Like, I am very happy with people being on YouTube. It's more that, like, I know there's some people that don't get on with the YouTube app for whatever reason. There's some people that don't get on with that don't like the way YouTube does adverts. If you watch it on Kick, you don't get any adverts at the moment because they don't do adverts. There's like some benefits to being over on Kick for people who prefer it, but I'm just happy you're here. That's it. If you're already here, stay here if you want. I would never encourage someone to go over there. Right. So what I wanted to do with this, like I was saying, is to try and make out like a news report type thing. Now, I realize I'm stealing this format a little bit from Kinda Funny, because I do listen to the Kinda Funny podcast. They do a daily podcast in the afternoons where they talk about the previous day's news or that day's news, because they record it quite late, I think. Hey, thank you so much for becoming a member, Ultraclat. What a legend. I do love people being members on YouTube. I was saying the other day, if I got 1,000 members on YouTube, I'd be like set. I could just relax about making money, and chill. So, you know, maybe one day. Anyway, yeah. So Kinda Funny do this news thing, and they have like lots of people on it. They'll often have like 3 people on it, sometimes 2 people on it, and they are constantly linking to other shows and stuff like that. But one thing I like about their show is how they just talk about the day's news quite quickly. They're just like, hey, bam, 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 bam. These are the stories. This is what we think of them. That's quite fun. But then they also have, you know, lots of advertising, lots of like advertising of other shows and stuff like that. So I would kind of like this to be the place where you just come 9 o'clock in the morning, BST or GMT, when we're out of daylight savings again in October. You come every weekday morning and we chat about the news, the gaming news. And, you know, sometimes we'll talk about other stuff like film, TV, whatever, maybe even the real news sometimes. We'll just chat about it and then we go on about our days. And I thought that would be a fun thing to do. We'll see how it's going. Am I monitoring the Kick chat as well? I'm trying to. It's a bit trickier for me because I have to jump it, but I can see the Kick chat. I think I should be able to. Although, actually, saying that, I actually couldn't see the message. I saw you put some stuff on there. LAMG said flooding your mail with notifications. Oh, I see. Yeah, it says the stream's buffering really badly on Kick. That must be a restream thing. Not really sure why that's happening. It's switching between offline and streaming all the time and buffering. Yeah, I don't know. If it's not working very well on Kick, then by all means stop watching on Kick. I don't know why that's happening. But yeah, I don't know why Restream is being a bit of a pain and essentially not buffering very well. It might be because the bitrate is too high. Actually, that's what it's going to be, isn't it? That's what it's going to be, that on Kick, it's trying to send too much information. I'll have to work out how to do that. Okay, so Kick might not be the place to watch it for now. Right, let's turn off Kick. Oh, that's a failed experiment. Turned it off for now. I think the bitrate was too high for Kick, and I can't set those individually with Restream, so it was buffering too much. We'll try and work on a solution. Right, let's see how it's going. The YouTube bitrate is why you prefer streaming. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the way Kick does their encoder thing, I don't know what magic they're doing, but it looks really, really clear. But it's like, it has to be, I think like, when I'm streaming on Kick, it's like a 6,000 kbps, whatever you call it, bitrate, whereas here it's 10,000. But then if you send a 10,000 signal to Kick, which seems to be what's happening, then it messes it up. And I thought Restream would re-encode it to sort that out, but it doesn't, basically. It doesn't look like it does, so I've got to work out some way to limit Restream what it's sending to Kick. But I'll have to do that for the next one. Anyway, let's get back on with what we were doing, because that's kind of annoying that happened. So, let's talk about news stories. I've got 5 news stories today, I think. Well, no, 4, really. That I wanted to talk about. So the first thing is Tears of the Kingdom. Today we're going to get a new Nintendo Direct, which is 10 minutes of Tears of the Kingdom gameplay. Now, obviously, I don't know what they're going to show. I don't know how they're going to present this. Is it literally going to be like 10 minutes from the beginning of the game? Is it going to be 10 minutes of clips? Is it going to be 10 minutes of highlights? Is it going to be like heavily edited or one long thing? I've got no idea. But my worry about this is like, do we actually need more footage of Tears of the Kingdom? I find it's a really weird thing that, like, surely there's 2 types of people that are going to buy Tears of the Kingdom. There's people who really loved Breath of the Wild and are really into gaming and are, you know, Zelda fans, or Zelda fans at least since Breath of the Wild, and are like, they're 100% going to get it. They're going to be super excited about it because they're like, oh, this is like awesome. And then there's people who maybe didn't play Breath of the Wild, maybe heard how good it was, maybe have never heard of a Zelda game before, but they play on Switch, and they'll just buy whatever Nintendo puts out because they're generally high quality. You know, that's the sort of games you play on Switch. Both of those people are already going to buy Tears of the Kingdom. Like, Tears of the Kingdom is going to be one of those games where most people who are still playing on their Switch are going to buy it because it's, you know, it's the big Nintendo game. It's the big Zelda game. Breath of the Wild, by a lot of people, is seen as the best game ever. Most people, I would think, would argue that it's probably the best game on Switch. Like, so with that in mind, what's the point of this trailer? I don't really understand. That seems really strange. Yeah, sorry, Fogger. Thank you very much. I will add you as the thing. I will add you as an OG. Don't worry, I can still do that. It's just, with it constantly resetting and stuff, I don't want to ruin people's day, if you see what I mean. There is some way I could get around this. I could actually open OBS twice and then stream this on Kick. That would work. But, oh no, actually, no, because then I'm uploading it twice and I don't have enough bandwidth for that. No, yeah, that doesn't work. Well, I'll work it out. I'll work out how to do the restream thing. It just didn't seem to work very well. I will go on to the Restream Discord and work my way through. But yeah, sorry, going back to Zelda. Like, so if everyone's already going to buy Zelda, everyone who's planning on buying Zelda, as long as Nintendo do a good job of telling everyone that it exists, which I'm sure they will, they'll be advertising everywhere for this game when it comes out. What's the point of showing off gameplay now? Like, if anything, all it's going to do is spoil the kind of the discovery, the surprise. Like, are there that many people who are sitting here thinking, like, I'm going to watch a Nintendo Direct today? So, you know, people who are already very much into gaming, people who are going to watch a Nintendo Direct are people who, like, love gaming already. Like, they love gaming news and everything like that. And they're sitting there being like, I might buy Tears of the Kingdom if it looks good. Like, that doesn't happen, does it? Like, that's not a thing. Surely. We will talk about DMZ later, a little bit later, operator. So yeah, I don't know. I'm reluctant to watch this Tears of the Kingdom reveal. I'm like reluctant to see it because I just think all it's going to do is show off something cool that would have been better if I'd experienced it in game. You know, it's like my aversion to spoilers, my aversion to having experiences ruined for me. I just think like that's what's going to happen with Tears of the Kingdom. I'm just going to be like, watch it and be like, oh, well, that would have been cool to see it in person. It's like I was watching a video where someone was talking about the new Tron roller coaster at Disney World. And he was just talking about it. But then he showed off something that I didn't know about that would have been cool to experience it on, like, when I was there for myself. And it was like, there was no, like, previous warning or anything. I guess he's one of the people that, you know, doesn't care about that sort of stuff. But it's like, these are, like, preview events to be able to ride the roller coaster. And then he just like showed it. It was just like put on a thing. And I was like, oh, that's a shame because like now I'm never going to be surprised by that. I'm never going to have that moment of being like, oh, that's amazing. Which, you know, does with theme park rides, that happens quite a lot. There's quite a lot of things that are meant to surprise you. And it's like once you know about them, they're inherently less good. Like, you know, it's never going to be as good again. And by seeing that on a YouTube video, you don't get the full effect, but you know it's going to happen. So now that's just ruined forever. And I think that was kind of crappy. And I feel like with Tears of the Kingdom, it's a good example of a game where I don't ever need to see it. It's the same with like, you know, there's lots of games like this for me. Like Jedi Survivor, the new Respawn Jedi Fallen Order sequel. I don't want to see any more of that game. I'm like happy. I know what it's going to be. I know I'm going to enjoy it. So I don't want to see any of the locations. I don't want to see any of the abilities. I don't want to see any of the enemies. I just want to be surprised. So I kind of need to avoid trailers and stuff like that now. I heard a thing a while ago, like a few months ago, of someone saying that they don't watch movie trailers for movies that they know they're gonna watch. And I've started being a bit like that. Like I haven't watched the Mario Brothers trailers since like the second one, I think. When I can avoid it, you know, sometimes it's been on in the cinema or something. But generally I don't watch those trailers on YouTube or whatever, because it's like, well, I know I'm gonna see it, so what's the point? What's the point of watching a trailer? It's just gonna spoil some of the cool reveals for me. If I know I'm gonna do it. Now there's some games that I think more videos, more content would be appreciated. So like Starfield is a good one where I feel like we still don't know a lot of what Starfield's going to be like. And I can imagine there's lots of people that'll be on the fence, you know, people who really liked Skyrim or really liked Fallout and are like, okay, but what's Starfield going to be? Is it going to be more like No Man's Sky, which the last trailer kind of hinted at? Or is it going to be more like Mass Effect, which there was a bit of that? You know, and I'm all in on Starfield anyway. I know I'm going to play it. I know I'm probably going to love it. But I don't know, like, I wouldn't mind seeing a bit more of, like, stuff about that so I can get excited about it. So yeah, it's a weird thing. Like, I think it's a personal thing. I'm not saying that they're wrong for making these trailers. I don't think, you know, that makes perfect sense. Except for Zelda. I think Zelda, they should just keep it mysterious. I think they should just not tell anyone what it's about. Like, remember the last time we really had a sequel to a Zelda game, like a clear sequel like this, was, as far as I know, Majora's Mask. And in Majora's Mask, as far, like, that was back in the day when, like, before YouTube and everything, so I hadn't seen any trailers for it. And it's like, I'm so glad I hadn't. Like, everything in that game was super weird. I'd seen stuff in magazines, I'd seen a bit, you know, oh, okay, it's got masks and stuff in it. But there's so much of that game that I didn't know about when I played it. And it was amazing. Like, just discovering all that stuff was so, so cool. So yeah, I'm kind of a bit like, I'm excited to go into some of these things a bit more blind. It's kind of, in a way, like, we can go on and start talking about Call of Duty a little bit now, where I think maybe with Call of Duty, would I enjoy the new seasons more if I didn't watch the trailers? Like, when season three's coming out in, what, 2 weeks? 2 weeks on Wednesday, I think. Would I enjoy season 3 more if I didn't read the blogs, didn't watch the trailers, didn't read anything about it at all? would that make it more fun? Because then I go into the game, I'm like, oh, look, this is new. Oh, look at this gun. Like, oh, look at this operator. Oh, this is cool. Oh, look at, there's a map or whatever. Like, would that be better? Or is it better to learn a lot about it, and then when you go into it, you can, like, look for those things? You know, it's difficult. Maybe I'll try it. Maybe this time I'll try it by not watching the trailers or reading the blogs or anything. Except I have to say, like, going back to Operator was asking about this, like, am I going to play some DMZ? I'm not going to play any DMZ today. I don't know when I'll play DMZ again. I finished the last kind of tier 5 story mission I needed to do yesterday. So I have, you know, I've finished all of the different tiers. I've now just got the little missions that I skipped along the way left to tidy up if I want to get like 100%. But I don't know if I even want to get 100% because some of those missions are like that one for getting 9 dog tags in Building 21. I don't know if I want to do that. That's like, oh, that's super tedious. I don't know. Well, I'll just go through chat before I move on too much. I need to get into the habit of doing this. Just hype up Zelda fans. It's about excitement for their biggest fans. Think of it as fan service. But Zelda to me, like, the whole game series has always been about exploring a new world and discovering stuff. Like, why would you want to see that already? Like, when I think of all of the good bits of Zelda games, like going back to the first Zelda game, all of them are things where I was surprised. All of them are things where I was like, whoa, didn't expect that. And it's like, what would a trailer do for that? Other than remind people that this is a Switch game and it's going to look like butt. Because the Switch games look like butt. I don't know. YouTube's, sorry, just trying to keep up with chat. YouTube's also going to be awesome when OBS releases support for AV1. Yeah, I can't use AV1, I don't think, so I've got a 3080. I think, don't you need a 40 series card or an Intel card to encode in AV1? I don't think, can you encode in AV1 using a 3080? I don't know. I'm not sure. Well, actually, I mean, actually thinking about it, in my streaming PC, I've got a 1080. So I don't know if you could do it on that, or maybe it just has to be an RTX card. I don't really know what generation of cards started doing it. Every now and then, when I've heard of like cool stuff that they do with encoding with the new 40 series cards, I'm like, oh, cool. Maybe I could get one for my streaming PC to replace the 1080, even though the 1080 is not taxed at all. Like, I'm running it on a tiny power supply at the moment just because I wanted my PC to be quiet. And it's like, I'm not using hardly any of the 1080 because it's just running a stream. But then if you look at the 40 series cards, even the cheapest 40 series cards are super expensive, so it's not worth it. Anyway, sorry, keeping up. Never played on the Switch. Mate has, and Zelda game did look lovely. I like Zelda games, I think they're good. You don't like to watch reveals personally, you like the full experience when you play Ultra Class. Yeah, I think I'm getting more towards that of just like, I don't need to watch trailers. Like, I'm going to go watch John Wick at some point, either today or tomorrow, and I haven't watched any trailers for it. Like, I don't know what's in this film at all. I don't know any of the action sequences. I don't know any of the characters. I don't know what's going on. I'm just going to go in blind, which I think, you know, I've heard people say it's good. I'm excited. Same with Top Gun. I didn't know anything about the Top Gun film, Maverick, and I was excited when I went to see it. It was cool. I didn't know anything about it. I kind of just want to go blind with everything. You get what they mean, Microsoft says, but some people do like seeing what they're getting even if they're excited to buy it. I think it's easier for us just to not watch the trailers and spoilers. Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm not saying they're wrong for putting trailers out. I'm just saying I personally think like I don't think I'm going to watch this Zelda stuff. Like, the game comes out next month, doesn't it? Doesn't it come out in April? Or is it May? I don't know. It comes out sometime soon. Can't be asked to go see it. Can't be asked to watch it. In terms of COD, do you think the content is different because it's not a narrative? Yeah, I mean, there is a narrative in the Call of Duty content. Can you remember when we used to get all of the seasonal cutscenes that were kind of mostly tied to Warzone? And, like, they were trying to tell a story. I actually did a video doing the entire story of Warzone from the beginning of it up to, basically, like, when Warzone 2 came out. I think I missed the last season of it because I made it before then. But it was, like, oh my god, that story was a mess. Like, it was just utterly bizarre. And it was like, people had obviously put a lot of work into these cutscenes, but no one had put a lot of work into, like, making a narrative arc across the entire story. Like, no one had tried, which just seems insane. Anyway, you watch trailers for multiplayer games, you don't think they ruin too much. Yeah, I mean, when I want to find out about a new game, I'll watch a trailer. But it's like, if I already know I'm going to play a game, then what's the point? Like, why would I watch a new Diablo trailer? Unless it was a cinematic trailer. I don't mind watching those. Because then it's exactly the same as doing them in game. But like a gameplay trailer, like, why would I watch Diablo when I know I'm going to buy Diablo? Like, why would I watch a trailer for Redfall when I know I'm going to play Redfall because it's on Game Pass? Just like, you're just taking away some of the sort of surprise and excitement. Don't think so. AV1 is ARC, AMD, or 40 series. Yeah, I don't have a 40 series graphics card, and I'm not going to get... I mean, I could get one of those Intel ARC things, but they're still really expensive as well. And at the moment, AV1 isn't supported with hardly anything, so there's no point. You avoided God of War footage before launch, and that game blew you away. Yeah, like, God of War, I think, like, God of War Ragnarok, I think I had seen too much of that from trailers. And, like, there was loads of stuff where it's like, oh, I guess this is that bit where... And then, you know, it's like, whatever happened in a trailer, which is kind of annoying. But don't spoil it for anyone else, Salty. Sad that happened to you. The least expensive route to get into AV1 is an Intel Art card. Yeah, but Intel Art cards are still super expensive, aren't they? Intel Art card. Amazon. I don't know if that's the best place to buy an Intel Art card. Intel Art card. Like an A750, which I'm guessing would do AV1 recording. That seems to be the cheapest one. It's £250. £250. It's only got GDDR3 RAM. That seems rubbish. And there's lots of people saying that like that like their things have just crashed because like the drivers and stuff are rubbish. I'm guessing they're using it more for gaming. I can't even see anything on there about it using AV1. Do all of them use AV1? I don't know anything about their naming thing or anything. But yeah, I mean, £250 just to be able to encode in AV1. That's too much money for me. Too much money for an experiment. ARC A380. A380. I can't see where I could get one of those. Oh, I could get one there. AS Rock. Oh, I see. There's like third-party ones. Intel Arc AS380, £158. Oh, that does do AV1 hardware encoding? Oh, but it wouldn't do NVENC encoding. So, I mean, all of this is kind of silly. There's no point me getting this until AV1 is a thing. But that's like, that's not bad. The idea of being able to get it then, of being able to buy one for 160 quid when AV1 becomes a thing on YouTube. Because I'm guessing this would be lower power as well. It's a mini ITX card. Cool, maybe I'll get that. Maybe I'll pick up one of them when they do AV1. Anyway, let's go back to reading some of the things. In terms of, do you think the content's different because it's not narrative? Stod Westin told me did the 9 dog tags yesterday, first time. Very lucky. I mean, that's my problem with that mission, is that it's luck. Like, obviously it helps if you're good, then you've got more opportunities to be lucky. But like, we tried it 3 times. We tried to do the 9 dog tags thing. 2 times we killed every other player on a map and there weren't enough players because there was a duo or a solo. So that meant we couldn't do it. And then the 3rd time we got killed by another team. And it's like, that sucks. So like twice we should have done it. If they'd just done it so it was like, get all of the dog tags. Get the dog tags of every other player in the game. That would be fine, because then it wouldn't matter how many people are in your game. If anything, you know, it makes it slightly easier if there's a duo or a solo. But because they've set it at 9, it's like, no, you got problem. Sucks. Or if they just set it as like, get 7 dog tags, because then that would still mean you have to kill 3 teams, but that would allow there to be like 2 duos or a duo and a solo. That would have made more sense too. It's just annoying. Like, I just don't think they thought a lot of this stuff through. Anyway, I need to work out how to do this podcast style thing while also like keeping to an agenda, because when you're reacting to chat as well, it's difficult. I keep jumping backwards and forwards with things. So anyway, going on from Zelda, I want to move on to the next thing. It is the Resident Evil 4 remake. Now, this isn't gaming news. This is me news. But I've been playing the Resident Evil 4 remake. I played the first part on stream, and then I played a bit more of it off stream. I've got past the first, like, proper boss. And I'm gonna not run ads. Skip ads. So I'm gonna, yeah, I got past the first proper boss, and then I've watched my wife play it a lot more. She's a lot further than me. She's up to the castle. And I don't love it. And this is something that I felt every time I've played Resident Evil 4. I played Resident Evil 4 on the GameCube when it came out. I played it on the Wii. And then I played it on, now I'm playing it on the Xbox Series X. And every time I played it, I can't get away from the fact that I don't really like that game. And it's like, I feel like there's something wrong with me. Like, most of the time, when people say a game is amazing, sometimes I don't like it immediately, but then it grows on me. Like, Elden Ring, I didn't love immediately, but, like, I ended up thinking it was amazing. But, and even Last of Us, I mean, Last of Us, I still don't think the first game is that amazing, but I think the second one really is. There's something about Resident Evil 4 that I just don't think is that good. And it's like, to me, like, the biggest thing is, like, there's a lot of stuff about it that's kind of fine. Like, the story obviously isn't a good story, but it's fine. It's kind of funny. It's schlocky B-movie type stuff. It's kind of funny, but it's not like, it's not a super engaging story. It's like, you need to go here to get this. Now you need to go here to get this. Now you need to go here to get this. And it's just like that over and over again, which like most Resident Evil stories are. And it's like, the environment is fine. I don't find it particularly interesting. Like, you spend a lot of time wandering around places that look very, very similar to each other. And it's like, there's not like loads of kind of super interesting environmental storytelling type stuff like what you saw in Resident Evil Village, where every location kind of had a lot of stuff that helps you to understand like these crazy people and how they lived there. In Resident Evil 4, it's much more like, oh, this is a farm, but bad things are happening, or oh, this is a cave, but bad things are happening. And it's just kind of that over and over and over again. And then like the big thing is like that the combat sucks. And like that's the thing that I can't get past. It's like if everything else was okay and kind of fun, like the story kind of fun, the enemy design kind of fun, the like dialogue and stuff kind of fun, but then the combat was good, I could love it. Like that would be enough. Like I don't think the story's good in Elden Ring. I don't think even the environments in Elden Ring, like they're really interesting, but like, you know, in terms of the bigger picture of them, but in like terms of like the smaller details, I still think like FromSoftware makes these kind of weird bland environments in terms of like they're not very detailed. And they're kind of ugly up close. But like that, like because the combat's so good, makes everything else better. It elevates everything else. Whereas Resident Evil 4 doesn't, to me, have that thing that makes it good. And because the combat, I think, is like genuinely bad, it makes it a chore to play. Like, I'm not like, oh, I can't wait to play a bit more Resident Evil 4. I'm like, oh, like, I have to put up with more fighting the same villagers over and over and over again in order to progress and see more of the story and the environments and the characters and the dialogue that I think is also quite bad. And it's like, I've watched, like I said, I've watched my wife play a lot more than me. And she's got further into it. And it doesn't look like, I mean, I know obviously like the environments and stuff change a bit, but they don't change enough. Like, I'm still seeing her fighting enemies that are like moving towards her in a straight line. And she has to use lots and lots of ammo to try and put them down. And if she's a good shot, she can put them down a bit quicker sometimes, and sometimes she can't. And it's like, it looks like the exact same gameplay, but just a little bit harder, like as it goes on. But then obviously you get better weapons and stuff like that. I just think, yeah, it's a bit strange. What are people saying? Sorry, nice shirt. Thank you very much. Same as yesterday. This isn't the same shirt as yesterday. I can't remember what shirt I was wearing yesterday. But I know I just got this out of the wash. So this isn't the same one as yesterday. What was I wearing yesterday? I can't remember. Anyway, yeah, I just didn't love it. And I don't know why I didn't love it. Just going back on. Need a subject line come up at the bottom so people know what subject you're on. I was thinking about that. Yeah, I might do that with the new Stream Deck or something. I might do that. So have a set of command setups and I can be like, bing, bing, bing. Like that would be quite cool. I might do that. That's a good idea. Maybe I'll do that for episode 4 tomorrow. We'll try it. Yeah. You can't do the titled chapters on a live stream in the same way that you could for, I wonder if you could actually, because you just put timings in the description. I wonder if it would work, and then as you get to that timing, it would change automatically. That would be amazing if that worked. Maybe I should try it. Anyway, I'm going to try it now, because that's like a crazy good idea. So let's just go and see. Yeah, what are people saying? How dare you insult Elden Ring and the Souls series? Yeah, there's a weird feeling about that, isn't there, in like the gaming community, that if you insult Elden Ring or Dark Souls or Demon Souls or whatever, that you're bad at the game. Like that seems to be the general thing, is like you are bad at the game if you do this. Right, how long, if I do chapters and then do intro, test, and then how long have I been going? There we go, 40 minutes. 40 minutes. Next subject. Let's see, if I do this, can anyone refresh their thing if you're on desktop and tell me whether that just made it so you can see chapters at the bottom? I'll be interested to see. Anyway, yeah, like there's a weird thing about Elden Ring. Like, Elden Ring is not a perfect game. No, that didn't put chapters in. That didn't work. I was wondering if it would. It didn't, basically. You can't do it on a live stream. That makes sense. But I could put pictures, I could put title cards up at the bottom. That's something I could definitely do. Anyway, what was I saying? Elden Ring. Yeah, Elden Ring. It's a weird thing that like people don't think you can like criticize those games, because it's like the art style of those games is very cool and very unique, and not, well, I mean unique as in for the series, not like within the series. Dark Souls and Elden Ring and Demon Souls look like they could basically be the same game. But across the like compared to other series, like they look very unique. But they're also quite ugly games. Like the character models look quite ugly, and the environments and the texture work and the geometry and everything like that looks quite ugly. And it's like occasionally you get something that's different. Like, you know, occasionally if I made that argument online somewhere, I'm sure someone could be like, hey, but look at this screenshot and this looks amazing. And it's like there are bits that look good. There's bits that are obviously very handcrafted and look much more impressive, especially when you see areas from a distance. Like you see places you're going to go to and then they look really cool. But when you're up close to them, they look terrible. Like, they just look bad. And yeah, I don't know whether that's like an optimization thing or what it is. A lot of Japanese games are quite like that, where stuff looks good in terms of the bigger picture, but then when you get up close, it looks bad. Like Zelda's the same, or Monster Hunter's the same. It's just like stuff tends to look bad up close. Which is strange, you know, and you compare it to something like, you know, obviously first-person shooters where you don't have a character model to look at, instead you're like looking closely at stuff, then stuff's much more detailed up close and looks much better up close. Or games like Grand Theft Auto or Red Dead, where like those games, when you get close to things, they actually look really good, and there's like little details in buildings and rooms and stuff like that that I think's really, really cool. Anyway, you need to do a fresh run on Elden Ring to prep for the DLC. Yeah, I mean, I've played through the game twice. I don't think I'll play through it again. Have I played the Dead Space remake? That was great. I did play Dead Space remake. I streamed the whole thing, I think, on YouTube. I don't know if I kept the VODs up, but I did stream the entire Dead Space remake up here. Did I do it? Did I keep the VODs up? I feel like I might have got rid of them because no one was watching them. Streams. No, they are all public. Yeah, you can watch the VODs of my entire playthrough of that game. I thought it was fine. It was like one of those things, like, you know, as someone that doesn't like spoilers and stuff like that, it definitely had a feeling of yeah, it was fine, but because I'd already knew everything that was going to happen and the remake didn't change that much up, I just felt like I was playing the same game again that I've played before. And it's like, I know they changed stuff for the Dead Space remake, but it felt so familiar that I didn't have the same kind of like, oh wow, this is awesome, like I did when I played it the first time round. It's like they did a good job of making it scary for the first couple of hours, but then that kind of fades away once you've fought enough of the monsters and they don't really throw any new monsters at you. And I think the ending of it is quite bad. A lot of games from that era, I think, have bad endings. Like, you know, I don't want to spoil other games. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of the way they did the ending for that. But it's fine. You love the Souls series and Elden Ring's graphically the best in series, but FromSoftware do this weird thing where some of the textures are really detailed and others are a blurry mess. Yeah, it's just like, I think it's like a style choice, like of, you know, where do they focus? What do they focus stuff on? I just think like Elden Ring games don't look that good. I'm sorry, they don't. And they're weird and glitchy and there's no sense of, I don't think there's much immersion in the FromSoftware games. They're very, this is something I said when Elden Ring came out, and it ended up it ended up being something I actually liked about the game, but I can understand why people wouldn't, and that's that they're very gamey. They're very like gamified. So an Elden Ring game, or Demon Souls, or Dark Souls, or Sekiro, or Bloodborne, they have systems in that aren't systems as in you're thinking about how it would work within that world. They're systems that you understand as, I am playing a video game, this is how this functions as like an aspect of the game. And that's something that I don't like very much. Like, generally, I prefer systems in games that are kind of like, oh, this is how it works within the game world, and you kind of make sense of it that way. So a good example of that would be like Sons of the Forest. When I've been playing Sons of the Forest, stuff I can kind of believe that like, okay, this is how this works. This is how this enemy reacts to this. This is how like trees react when I cut them down and stuff like that. And I like that. I like that kind of immersion of just trying to wrap my head around how this world works. That's kind of fun. I'm not a big fan of, oh, if I like keep this in my pocket, I'm going to get +5 defense. And that means that when enemies hit me, I'm going to take like 12 less damage. And that means it'll take them 4 hits to kill me instead of 3 hits to kill me. Like that sort of stuff, I don't like as much. I don't hate it. Like, you know, there's a place for it. So Diablo's a good example of a game that's all about that. And I really like that. You know, Diablo, at no point are you immersed into that world when you're swapping skills and finding items with like +12 fawns or whatever. But like, I would prefer games that are more just like immersive in that way, you know, and that's a big part of the reason why I love games like The Last of Us Part 2 and Red Dead Redemption and even like Titanfall. I think they do a really good job of you being in that world and just feeling like kind of immersed in them. I think that's much more interesting to me. But Elden Ring is very, very gamified. And I've made this argument before, and I've had arguments with people where they're then like, oh, well, like, you know, what do you mean it's not immersive? Like, it's got such an amazing atmosphere and stuff like that. And it's like, it's kind of the atmosphere's there, but I always feel like the atmosphere is immediately dispelled when you are then putting on some combination of items because it lets you use an exploit in the enemy's AI, or it lets you use an exploit in the way damage is calculated or something like that, which then lets you beat stuff. You know, it's like when people started realizing how overpowered bleed damage was, then people were just picking up loads of bleed damage stuff because they knew that that damage buff would like proc really reliably and take off big chunks of the enemy's health. It wasn't like, oh yeah, I'm this cool like vampire person and I need to use blood to like make myself more powerful. It wasn't that. It was just like, oh, the numbers go up, and that's less interesting to me, I think. You know, when Starfield comes out, there'll be some people who will immediately try and break down Starfield into its constituent systems and then work out how to min-max everything based on that. And that's definitely a way to play, but it's not the way I want to play. The way I want to play is I want to get lost in that world and think that I'm some cool space captain going around exploring and doing stuff. I don't want to be thinking about numbers as much as possible. If anything, I would quite like to play games like that, like FromSoftware games or like the Bethesda RPGs, games like that, I'd be quite up for playing them with no stats. Like, just take all the stats off and let you work out what stuff can do. Because then you wouldn't be like, oh, this weapon's better than this one because it does +2 damage. You'd be like, oh, this feels better, or this looks cooler. And that's what you'd focus on. You wouldn't worry about the numbers. I think that's something that Call of Duty have played with on and off for years now, is this idea of how much information do you want to give the player? And like, is that always a good thing? Is it always a good thing to give players the exact figures? Like, when you look at the stuff that True Game Data and JGod do, where they're like breaking down individual weapons and they're working out the damage profiles for everyone, they're working out the exact values and the time to kill and the bullet damage and velocity and blah, 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 blah. Does that make people enjoy that game more? Are the people who are poring over that and stressing about that and arguing about that, are they enjoying it more than the person that just picks up an AK and is like, yeah, this feels pretty good for me, I'm going to use this gun? Like, maybe the person who pores over all the data and stats will win fights 10% more often, but are they having more fun? I personally don't think so. It's a weird. I used to be like, oh, why, with Gunsmith, why is it so annoying when they just have all of these little bars that say, this one does a bit more recoil control, this one does a bit more damage and stuff. But I'm like increasingly more like, I don't even really care about having that. I just want to try stuff. And I mean, the problem with Call of Duty is they've made a rod for their own back. Pardon me, of having too many attachments that what they do isn't obvious. Like, why is there like 15 different foregrips? Like, it's a thing that lets you hold the front of the gun steady. Like, why do we need lots of different ones? So they have to find a way to differentiate them, and they do that by having different statistical bonuses for each thing. Fine. It's like, I've said many, many times, I would much rather Call of Duty's attachment system was like, do you want to have a laser on it? Do you want to have like stock on it? Do you want to have a suppressor on it? Do you want to have an extended mag on it? And then maybe sights could be the one thing where there could be a bunch of them. Lots of different sights make sense to me. Like, do you want to use iron sights? Do you want to use a reflex sight, a holographic sight, a red dot sight, a scope, a sort of ACOG scope or a sniper scope, like a thermal scope, whatever. That makes sense to me. Lots of different sights make sense. Everything else is like, I would kind of just be okay with there being like one. Like, you have a suppressor or you don't have a suppressor. I liked the way Blackout did it, Black Ops 4 did it, where it was like, you can have a suppressor or you can have an extended barrel or you can have neither. An extended barrel will make it so you do more damage across the distance, but I can't remember what else it did. Did it like lower the rate of fire or something? I don't know. Some sort of drawback. Or you can have a suppressor, which means it does less damage, but it's quieter or doesn't show you up on a map or whatever. And then it's like, you can have a stock if you want, and a stock means that you can control the recoil a bit better, but you don't run as fast with it. And then you can have an extended mag, and it means the reload time will be longer, but you have more bullets in that magazine. What's wrong with that? Why do we need anything more than that? That just seems crazy to me. Texas P8 says, if you're not using a meta gun, Warzone's best avoided. I mean, I disagree. I've always been fairly against that idea. You watch like a lot of really good streamers who play, and people like FIFA Kills and people like that who have done stuff where they've been like, hey, I'm going to win a game of Warzone with every gun in the game. It just sort of shows that like individual skill is way more important than what gun you're using. Like, obviously, if you're using a better gun, it makes life easier. And sometimes there's guns that are hopelessly broken and just are better than everything. The Dragon's Breath shotgun with fire rounds was the best thing to use short range. If you were using a different shotgun, if you were using a different SMG, you were at a massive disadvantage. But generally, when we're not in a phase like that, like right now we're in a phase where it's like, you could kind of use nearly any gun, and it would be, if you were good with it, you'd be okay. Like, sometimes you'd get outgunned, but you're going to get outgunned sometimes anyway. Things like your positioning and your aiming and your reaction time are so much more important than which gun you're using. Like, I wouldn't want to go in with like a marksman rifle that's not the Tempest up against someone with an assault rifle or an LMG, for sure. because the marksman rifles are bad and the battle rifles are bad. But when it comes to assault rifles, if you were using an M4 or an STB or an AK or whatever else, you're probably gonna be fine. You know, like you like people with an ISO might have an advantage, but like it's not going to be that huge. If you've got better aim than them and you've got better positioning, you're still going to kill them. Because the differences between all the guns, when people talk about time to kill, the differences normally end up being like 0.2 of a second. And it's like things like your reaction time and your movement and your aim make a much bigger difference than that 0.2 of a second. Because how often is it that you and another person are shooting each other at exactly the same time, hitting all of your shots? Like, that rarely happens. Gun perverts. There are people, yeah, I know there are people who love guns. I know that is a thing. I find that very, very strange, but I guess it's a thing. You guess they have so many for gun progression to be there. But does anyone like gun progression? Has anybody ever liked gun progression? Because, like, you unlock all the stuff on your guns and then you're done. And everyone's like, oh, I've got to unlock everything on the gun. You know, you get a new gun come out, a DLC, and everyone's like, oh, you have to unlock it all. And, like, you know, they've done this whole new gunsmith system where it's like you unlock the stuff from a family, so then you've already got all of that stuff unlocked. Oh, it doesn't actually work because you still have to level up the gun to unlock the slots. So it's essentially the exact same as it was in the first place. But, well, not the exact same, but the spirit of it is the same. But, like, unlocking gun stuff is like, you unlock it, like, at the moment in Call of Duty, you unlock, like, everything on a gun in, what, like 3 or 4 games, and then you never think about it again. It just seems, like, pointless. I just don't get it at all. I don't understand it. If I had my way with DMZ, if I had my way, I would do it so DMZ would be completely separate from, like, Warzone and everything like that. And you would have attachments that are actually better. So you'd just have, like, 5 foregrips, but it wasn't like, oh, each foregrip does a different thing. It would literally be like, you get, like, you know, like Diablo quality stuff. You get a common foregrip, or you get a rare foregrip, or you get an epic foregrip, or whatever. And it's like, so then obviously they get increasingly rare. So it's like, oh, you find a high level foregrip, and it's like, oh, sick, this is really good. This is going to do more to control my gun. I would prefer that rather than just like, oh, I've unlocked 24 foregrips for this type of gun. I'm going to go look up a YouTube video to find out which one is the one that I should put on it and then ignore the other 23. That just seems silly. I think gun progression / leveling thing's always been a thing. But just because something's always been a thing doesn't mean it should still be. I found that a really weird argument when Warzone 2 came out. Sorry, I keep coughing. I found it a really weird argument. Lots of people said lots of things should be in Warzone because they were always in Warzone. I was like, so? Who cares? But Patrick, you think... Look at some of the most competitive first-person shooters, thinking about things like Counter-Strike or Valorant. They don't have, like, 1 million attachments, and they're still super competitive. You get, like, surely people who care about, like, fair competition and stuff, your advantage should come from your skill, not from what gun you've got. Or what, you know, what attachments you've got in your gun, what build of your gun you've got. Because otherwise, all that happens now, all that happens with the way Gunsmith is at the moment in Warzone, is you get an advantage over other people if you've watched YouTube videos or you've followed guides on how to build the best gun. Because I'm willing to bet there are probably less than like 50 people in the world who are doing all of that testing themselves to work out what's the best setup. Don't think it's happening. I just think that's very silly. Yeah, Salty, I think that would be much better. You like the gun progression, but you're also one who likes the camo grind. But I'm just saying, like, the camo grind at least is like a long-term thing that you're doing over hundreds of games. The gun progression, like, I leveled up every gun before Season 1 came out. And I didn't, like... it wasn't like I was playing 24 hours a day or anything like that. I was playing quite a lot, but I wasn't playing loads. And I had every gun leveled up straight away. And now whenever a new gun comes out, it takes like 3 or 4 games to level it up. It's just like, it's just a mild inconvenience. There's no fun in it. I'm not like, yeah, now I've Like, I get to use a gun with no attachments, and then it's like, yeah, now I've finished one game of it, now I can put a suppressor on it. It's like, I just wish I could have put the suppressor on it from the beginning, to be honest. In real life, most gun progression comes from using the gun much, not what crap you put on it. Yeah, and that would be better. And I just think it'd be much better for balancing. I've seen loads of people being like, oh, you know, they just need to balance the guns properly. It's like, there's what, like 55 guns, something like that now in Warzone? And each gun has how many attachment slots? Like 8 or something? And then how many different attachments are there for each slot? Like between 10 and what, 20, 30, depending on what it is. And then you've got the attachment tuning on top of that. Good luck making that not broken. Like, that's way too many combinations. Like, an insane number of combinations. It's just like something you can't test for. That people are gonna find weird combinations of things that make guns too good. Or you're gonna make it so the attachments don't do anything. You've got the choice of either having attachments that don't feel like they do anything, or you've got things that do make them feel like they do something, and people will find broken combinations. And then people will post that broken combination on the internet, then everyone will use that broken combination. Which is exactly what happens. You know, it's just like, once the meta settles down every season, people just everyone's using the same build for the same gun. There's tons of attachments that just no one will ever use, because why would you? Another one is objectively better. It's just insane. The number of times I've been building a gun in Warzone, and people in chat have just told me like, oh no, that's the wrong laser, or that's the wrong stock. Like, what? Why does the other one even exist then? Was it Black Ops where you earned gun XP and then you'd use it to purchase attachments? I don't think so. Oh, Black Ops 1. Oh, maybe. I don't know. I can't remember that far back. Don't know. But yeah, Microsep. I think most guns work like that. Everyone picks up the same guns, and then you get like the thing. And like, I don't mind the idea of picking up attachments. Like I said, I think Blackout did it well. I think PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds does it quite well. But people have this thing of like, oh, well, you know, Warzone's always had the gunsmith and loadout, so it needs to always have it. It's like, why? That's such stupid game design. To like just be like, oh, well, we've done it in the past, so we have to keep on doing it. I saw, I'm gonna like, we'll bring this to a close soon, but I saw some tweets last night. I think it started with on Warzone, I'm not sure, but I saw lots of people retweeting and posting and replying, because my Twitter defaults to For You now, so even though I don't follow Mon Warzone, now I just see all their tweets all the time, because Twitter's like, hey, Mon Warzone's Call of Duty, you like Call of Duty, let's watch this. Anyway, and they said DMZ ruined Warzone 2 or something like that. DMZ's the downfall of Warzone 2, I don't know, something like that. And I still think very, very strongly that the downfall of Warzone 2, if you want to call it a downfall, at least the thing that stopped me wanting to play it, are the very vocal community. Like, and the fact that Infinity Ward and Raven and whoever have tried to appease them. And I genuinely think that's what's ruined the game. Like, 100%. They just constantly have tried to change things based on what popular social media accounts have been saying, because these social media accounts, like Charlie Intel, like Mon Warzone, like Tim the Tatman and whoever, they'll post out things saying like, this is what the COD community thinks, this is what everyone thinks, you know, they've got lots of followers, so people look at that and like, oh, well, like, that must be what they think. And then they've tried to make changes based on that. So we've ended up having like loadouts being everywhere, and then people complain about the meta, and it's like, well, if we didn't have loadouts everywhere, the meta wouldn't be a problem. And we have like, you know, this weird thing of like the systems being built around backpacks and stuff like that, but now it's kind of half not working around backpacks anymore because people didn't like it, so now we're kind of in a halfway point where it's not either. And like the same with AI, the same with the gulag, all of this stuff where it's like not quite changed. I saw someone saying the other day, someone who'd been campaigning tirelessly for there to be a 1v1 gulag, and then saying like, oh, this gulag map's rubbish. It's like, that's because it was a 2v2 gulag, and the gulag used to be fun, and now it's rubbish because it's 1v1 and it's really boring, and no one ever talks about the gulag anymore. If you watch a streamer doing the gulag, it's just like, oh, they're going to gulag, they win, they're going to gulag, they win. It's like, that's it. There's nothing fun, nothing interesting about it. And it's just like, oh my god, I genuinely believe, like 100%, that if the Call of Duty developers had been able to just do something different with Warzone 2 and just pursue their own vision, and the community wasn't constantly whining and acting so entitled and like, I don't get it. They like constantly insult the developers, like big content creators who are supposedly Call of Duty fans, constantly insulting all the developers, acting as if they know better, even though they've never designed a video game in their life, let alone a video game like Call of Duty. And then saying like, this is what should happen, we know best, like blah, blah, blah. It's like so obvious that you should do this. And it's like, oh my God, like stop it. Like really just stop it. All that's happened is you've made the game worse because they keep trying to appease you. And then you say, oh, they never listen. They never do what we want. It's like, what? So we haven't gone to a 1v1 gulag. We haven't got rid of the backpack looting system in Warzone. We haven't constantly got loadouts everywhere for everyone all of the time. We haven't got this insane gunsmith with like tunable attachments and everything like that. We've got all of this stuff that people wanted. And now they're like, now they keep on complaining about it because they don't realize that it was like what they wanted that caused a lot of these problems. It's so unbelievably frustrating. And DMZ, it's the same sort of thing where it's like, people have been moaning all the time about, people are like complaining about the way things work, about the like difficulty it is for solo players. So then they added all of this stuff about being able to like assimilate and join other teams and stuff like that. And now it's like, then people complain about the assimilating and joining other teams. So I'm sure we'll see something going back on that. I think people should just play the game or not play the game based on whether they like it or not. And it's fine to say you don't like the game. That I've got no problem with people criticizing Call of Duty and saying, I think this is bad. Fine. Say you think it's bad and then move on. What I do have a problem with is saying, oh, the developers don't listen to us. The developers need to listen to the community. We know what's best for it. That's stupid. People should stop saying that. Anyway, I got through like 3 of the things I wanted to talk about. I'm going to leave that there. I think 1 hour is a good amount of time for this. Leave you wanting some more. I'm going to be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. I might be back later on Kick streaming some Deceiving. I might try some of that a little bit later. So make sure you turn your notifications back on after I accidentally spammed everyone with that if you want to do that. And tomorrow tomorrow morning, I'm going to be playing some Crime Boss Roque City here on YouTube. So it won't be like a podcast episode tomorrow. It will be some gameplay. Crime Boss Roque City. I'm looking forward to it. It's like a crime, fun 80s thing. Comes out later today, but I need to download it and it's 90 gigabytes, so I'm going to play it tomorrow. So make sure you come back tomorrow. Make sure you subscribe, turn notifications on, and I will see you then. Goodbye.